Nice to see everybody this evening. Thank you for joining another edition of the Urban Consulate. My name is Akeem J. Dixon. I'm your hostess with the mostest. You're in the right place if you want to change your community. If you want to do that, can you all make some noise one time for yourselves, please, for showing us tonight? So, first, before we get started, I'm going to bring up the folks that put this thing together. I'm going to bring up Freeman. I'm going to bring up Dina from this square. And they're going to talk to you about what mic not working.
This is the AV mic test. Can you hear me?
Go.
Where should we stand?
Stand in the middle.
We're going to start rapping?
I don't have any bars. You're out?
Oh?
Why? You got a tea jacket on. You like a rapper in 90.
Right.
All right, go.
Place to stand? Right here? Right here? Okay.
No. It's gonna be a problem.
All right.
Bear with us 1 second.
Hello? What? Okay.
I'll talk very loud. I'm usually a big proponent of microphones to amplify noise, but I've been in this situation before. So I'm Michelle Freeman with Urban Consulate and Witty Gritty. This is Dina with Fifth Square and probably wears other hats too, but we'll be sharing some information about Fifth Square, and we're co-hosting tonight during Design Philadelphia, who's been to a Design Philly event last week, yeah? Sweet. So we want to thank Design Philadelphia for being amazing too. Very, very quick, Akeem's gonna take you on this journey tonight. We have a lineup of great presenters, but very quickly, Urban Consulate, we're trying to create space for dialogues about cities and things that are of interest to people like us, and to create space for that. So we're here in Philly. My team hosts here. I'm going to shout out Claire Nelson, who is visiting from and Melinda from Detroit. So not only are we trying to do these programs and have these conversations that connect people in Philly, we're also trying to do some cross-connection across cities and do that city, sort of connect twins in different cities and do that learning across different places. So we just brought about 10 to 12 people from Philly doing Philly work to Detroit. Jen DeVore, I see you. Aubrey, I see you. You guys were there. Veronica, I see you. Johan, I see you. We have actually half the people almost that came to Detroit are here. So if you want to ask them about their trip, you should ask them. But really just trying to share across cities. So right now we're most actively doing that between Philadelphia and Detroit thanks to the Knight Foundation. And I'll swing it to you.
Hi all, thank you first for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. I'm excited to see so many faces, both new and old here. So Fifth Square is a political action committee based here in Philadelphia. We are all volunteer and supported by about 300 small donors. We are here to put political officials into office that are going to support urbanist policies. So I would be more than happy to talk to you guys about what's going on at Fifth Square later on, but I'm excited to hear what's going on this evening. So.
All right, cool. All right, so let me tell you how this is going to work this evening. We're going to talk about urban tacticalism, which is a way of saying that you get to go into your community and your microphone not work, and you get to go in your community and work really hard to change something that you think is broken. But you don't ask for permission at all. And you actually don't snitch on the people that you do it with, except for the people whose job is supposed to do it. So you have a broken pothole in your neighborhood, if you have a park that's messed up, you form a group, you go out and fix it, and then you don't tell anybody how you do it, unless they call you, and then you say, that person in your office didn't help me, that's why I did it my damn self. Worry about the consequences and repercussions later. It's like being Robin Hood, literally in the hood. So, we have a litany of people who are going to get up here tonight. They're going to tell you the amazing projects they did. They're going to tell you how exactly you did it. And then you can recreate them in your own neighborhood, no matter if you're from New Orleans or Detroit or this amazing city that we call the 215. You guys ready for this journey? What's up? And I talk all that community stuff, but the most important thing this evening is that the open bar ends at 8 p.m. So, if you don't have a drink, I need you to get on that. Don't make any noise. Tip your bartender, the lovely bartender, very well, please, because they like that. And have fun. So, coming to the stage in her amazing red dress, doing amazing things for schools, is my new friend Lauren, who, don't move Lauren, is the first person to go, and they all have theme music, because this is like wrestling in community development. There's good guys and there's bad guys. So we ask every person who's going to present tonight to have their own theme music that illustrates their brand of urban tacticalism. Mine, of course, was Nas, whose world is this? Because I'm a Leo, and that means the world is mine. So Lauren's going to get up here and she's going to break the ice with a big old smile and some amazing feedback on how you can work with schools. So, Jay, drop that music, please. Hi, Lauren. How are you? Okay, Lauren is nervous, but she doesn't know that we're all in this together. Okay, and she has on a dope red dress, and we all love that. And we're going to make sure she's not nervous with friends and family. And she has this dope song that's from a whole nother era. And Lauren, go.
Thank you, Akeem. So it's actually pools and not schools. So I do a lot of work with our public pools, but this one is going to be about our pools. I live near the Marian Anderson Recreation Center. It's at 17th and 18th on Catherine and Fitzwater. I live there with my two sons, my husband, and I work full-time at Penn. Really quickly, the history of the Marian Anderson Rec Center used to be called McCoach Playground. And it was renamed after Marian Anderson in 1954. In 1993, a couple days after she died, A.S.L. Moore, who was a Philadelphia reporter, Philadelphia Inquirer reporter, told a little bit of the history of this neighborhood that they grew up in. He grew up there with her. And this pool and the YMCA a block away were the only pools in Philadelphia that black children could swim in. There were only 2. There are 70 pools in Philadelphia. I'm going to tell you the story how we went this summer from this to this. And this is actually what started it 3 years or a year and a half before this summer. I don't know if anybody is a part of a neighborhood or a civic association, whether in real life or online, but there is a lot of complaining. And I had a freak out moment at one complaint, and my response to it was to meet them where they were on Facebook. So I started the Friends of MARC Facebook group. It was free, it was quick, and it got the message out. Working with public schools, one of the messages I try to spread are that when you are going to do something for somebody, you're doing it for them. It's not what you think they need. When you're going to a public school, you ask what they need and then you meet them there. So that's what I wanted to do with this. People still complain, but if you take it in a way, if you keep it positive and you keep updates going and you keep everybody moving along in a more positive direction, I think you can even do that online. I work full time, so a lot of it is from remote. This is John. He's the rec center director. He faced a lot of challenges working in a volunteer position. He works with the Monarchs, which are an amazing part of our community. And this is John. And John was kind of a tough nut to crack. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight into working with John and wanting to help John and to help him out. So this is usually what he would say. If we could have any, can we offer you guys any help? Can we do any fundraisers? Can we do a pop-up pool? No, that's his yes. So that is yes. And everything that you see tonight that we did got a no. Every single one of them got a no, but so we proved ourselves. We started building a relationship with the rec center, and we just showed up. We said, do you want us to help clean up? And when he said yes, we showed up. We borrowed the tools from Sazna, and we just showed up in the outside. We cleaned up the rec center as they needed it. Always did pizza. We did the inside for Martin Luther King Day, and I always order from Rose's if you want. And then, so one of the things, if anybody's familiar, is the pop-up pool project. Back in 2015, Ben Bryant got the Knight Foundation grant, which was significant assets of Philadelphia. In the first year, he spent $70,000 with urban planning and landscape design, and they redid the Francisville pool. And that was my inspiration, and it was this picture that I said with our pool, and I would go to our pool in the summer, even though it was, you know, really run down and kind of run really strict. I looked at this picture and I said, if other pools can have this, we can too. So I have a friend, and we decided to show that we were sincere about the thing, and so I had a friend do this mural to kind of brighten up this patch of dog walking area over here. And so that was what got a little bit more attention going. And then because of all the updates and all the communication I had online, this neighbor, wonderful Nicole Buckles, actually worked with the first pool project, lived only a block from our pool, and stepped in and helped me put together this presentation. And this really was what was able to, like, this simple 7-slide presentation just gave it such a visual. We even came up with a dream budget, which we never thought we would meet, of all of the things that we thought that our pool could use. We didn't know how we were going to get this money, but then SASNA said, you know, present to us and we'll see. We have a little bit of grant money. They gave us $6,000, and this just, yeah. And so with that seed money, it inspired, within 3 days, we raised another $13,000 from the community. Blocktoberfest stepped in, gave us $1,000, and it inspired other local neighborhood restaurants and businesses to get involved. And then finally, and so Akeem mentioned dealing with your government agencies. So I had been keeping Parks and Rec apprised of every single thing that I had been doing and had not received one response. It wasn't until we raised that money that I finally got an email back about 3 weeks before the pool was to open, and I had one ask for them. I kept updating them, you know, asking them, any resources, just tell me what I can do. How can you put me in touch with Swim Philly? And no response. When they finally did write back, I said, I have one ask. It was this fence. And if you look, this is the bleachers and the pool, and it was divided by this fence. And to me, it looked like a prison. And they ran it like a prison. And I think our kids deserve so much more than a prison. And so they said, nope, not coming down. They said that it forced people to take the shower they needed to take, and it prevented children from falling in the pool without their parents. And I said, there are 70 pools in Philly and only 3 have this gate. And I think that our kids deserve a lot more than a sprinkling hose as they walk through the entrance of the thing. And they took it down. So that was it. And now we have money. It took a lot of man hours. It took a lot of coordinating volunteers to do cleanups, to get the thing going. We weren't going to wait for the city to clean it up ourselves, and we just did it ourselves. This is a lot of spending of money. We were really tight with money. We tried to find as many resources around the neighborhood as we could, and we just kept going. This is us through the summer. We did spend money on a professional woodworker to help us with this. The deck is for the elderly people so that they would be able to sit in the shade and enjoy that side. This year the lawn was open to everybody. We had towels, you could bring beach chairs. Before it was nothing like this. This is the big view. Simple things that cost nothing practically. We're printing signage for the rec center to communicate better. One of the things after the pool opened, everybody learned that you need U.S. Coast Guard approved flotation devices. Of course, every parent with resources showed up the next day with one, but we knew that many families couldn't. So we spent a good chunk on the money on this cart with all of the things. And as you can see, it was like used extensively through the summer. We also hired another lifeguard, which allowed for, it was a PMA assistant to clean up everything and to keep everything safe. We stayed open until August 25th, which last year it closed the first week of August, so to keep it open through the end of the summer because of the lifeguard staffing. This was the lifeguard hangout area. This is it now. We promoted the Marian Anderson swim lessons, and the wait list grew really quickly. this was the line to get in. We did have problems, we did have complainers, we did have people who were pretty entitled because they felt that they donated money and they deserved something, but I was pretty blunt and shut them down pretty quickly. This is my view of every picture of all my kids from 2007 to now, because as a parent, you couldn't go in there unless you were swimming in the pool. All my pictures of my kids swimming are with this gate in the front of it, and now this is it from the teachers. And I have to say, like this summer, like the joyous noises that came from across the street were like nothing that I have heard living here for the past 10 years in this house. So it really was a really special experience. We got a lot of online, spreading of word, and it really was a really good thing. So we also fought to get the new playground that the Phillies promised us about 7 years ago. We put some pressure on them, finally got that in. And this is John. We're also teaming up with the Union Baptist Church, which was Mary Anderson's childhood church. So they have a beautiful garden that they're growing. So now we're focusing a lot of our energies on them too.
Yeah.
Yay.
How did it go? I think it was all right. How about you? You feel good about it?
Yeah.
Did you forget anything? I know sometimes you get up here and you're like, damn it, I forgot to mention.
No, there's so many things I'm going to go home and think about for the rest of
Okay,
the
that's
day.
one. I'm giving you like room right now to give one thing back that you've got to mention. If you don't have anything, it's cool. I have questions, so it's
Yeah, ask me
okay.
questions.
All right, so let me see. First question, how do you tell people no? You did a very good job of saying, I shut people down, I told them no, they felt entitled. That's the hardest thing, right? You're doing something fun for people, you're trying to do something back to the
I think you
community.
need to use logic. Like when you just think, I think common sense, I think a lot of us agree with common sense, and when we're dealing with entitled personalities, they're usually not dealing with common sense. So usually if you drop the common sense logic, so that I'm an over communicator, and so I think they just get tired of hearing me talk. Give up.
I have one more question, and then I'm gonna ask people if they have a question for you. That's the hardest part. I'm a sophomore. Why did you pick your song?
So I picked the song Cruel Summer because if you listen to a lot of it, it's just about that living in the city. You guys know, we live in the city, it's hot, it stinks, it smells, it's terrible. And I was lucky enough, even though I grew up in an urban environment, I did get to experience New Jersey pool clubs. I did get to spend weeks at the beach, and I just know that a majority of the kids in Philadelphia will never get to experience that. And so we created our own pool club here.
Now the fun part, does anybody out there have a question for her? Get 2, or you get 0. It's up for you to pick. What do you want to be? That's a question, people. And you had 3 minutes left to get a drink. So I helped you, and help out me and Laura. Oh, you got to get a drink? Well, I know the bartender. No questions for Laura when she sits down? Going once, going twice. Jen DeBoer has a question. Shocker.
When you are working in parks and recs, what's your advice to people that want to navigate that department?
That's tough. I mean, a good thing is building the relationship with the rec center director and finding that, tie, but even that doesn't always work, and it's just being persistent. I kept them in the loop in April when I started this project and didn't hear from them until August. And I figured if they were going to shut me down, at least they had all that information in front of them, so they really couldn't do anything.
Before you sit down, make sure you give some love to your hubby back home. You watch him on Facebook, I'm
Oh,
sure.
is he watching? Yes.
Thanks, Jen, everybody. Good job. So next up, we have 2 for the price of 1, or buy 1, get 1 free. They get to decide who is the free one. So first up, coming up, we have Carrie coming up here. And her theme music will be arriving shortly. Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you eager?
Nervous.
Are you drunk yet? Talk to me. Okay. This is where you are, guys? I like it. This is so old school. I love it. My mom is so happy right now. Jason loves it too. I love his staff in this If you want to put a hand in the air, feel free, guys. All right, next up we have Val. Vivian. My mom's friend name is Val. Don't mind me. Vivian's coming to the stage and her music sounds just like this. Who is this person? It's Dixon mentioned everybody. This is what technical means. I agree with you. This is community work, people. So, these two people do housing. Right? I'm just trying to give like a broad view for those people. So in the audience, there are people like my mom that has no idea what's going on right now. So you have to use general terms, and we gotta talk literally underneath the floor. Not even at the floor, underneath the floor. She has no idea what tactical or urbanism means. Okay.
Well, so technically, I don't know if we've engaged in tactical urbanism because we did seek permission, but we did at Habitat. We did engage. We do engage the community, and we do support what community members want to see and have in their neighborhood, so we use our resources to make that happen. So a couple things that Habitat is really good at is engaging people both physically and actually building things, and also in planning things, and then we're also good at the actual building. So I'm gonna switch. And part of what we try to always keep in mind, we sort of have this tension between engagement and building community ownership of things, our houses, our repairs, and now we do built work in the environment as well. And then, oops, I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. And then also having a strong end product, and ideally these two overlap together and it's one circle. Another circle that we often have too is funders. You know, we raise a lot of money from corporate donations and philanthropic donations. And there's oftentimes strings attached about what kind of things have to... What is happening? Sorry, if I keep touching it. And oftentimes too, there's a third wheel about sort of funders' expectations. And their money comes with engaging their employees or doing some event around. I'm not touching.
Just playing Kumo D, it'll be okay.
Which, is that the slide?
That's the slide I want, or this one. But oftentimes we have this third wheel too, that has these strings attached. So the project I'm going to talk about today is something that's part of our neighborhood revitalization initiative. We're building homes, we're repairing homes, and I swear I'm not touching this thing. I don't care, just leave it on a slide, like just leave it on a blank slide. I'll let Vivian do the...
It's working now.
You said it's the bottom, right? Up or down? I can go up and down.
I mean, you don't have to point it to that.
Okay.
You can just point it.
I don't even need slides.
You don't have to point it to the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're talking about a project at the rec center. This is the athletic rec center at 26th and Oxford. It's a neighborhood where we are doing, we're building a whole bunch of homes. Some of you might have heard of the Sharswood neighborhood. It's where PHA is very involved as well. We're also repairing a ton of homes. And then we're working in the spaces in between where we're repairing and building. We're doing advocacy with neighbors. We're supporting residents in their hopes and dreams and visions for the neighborhood. So one thing that came up repeatedly, well, two things that came up was, I'm not touching it, was building a ramp at the athletic rec center that, at this center coming off, and then also developing an intergenerational space where both children and older adults and folks could engage in the neighborhood, in the space. So anyway, so we worked with Parks and Recs to try and plan for a ramp. So we did work with Parks and Rec. We worked with, it's a historical building. There was a lot of, can I just tell you where to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. That's Vivian's part. Just leave it on there. Yeah. It turns out that the historical building has a ton of issues about where you can put a ramp, and the Art Commission had to weigh in on how to soften the look of the ramp. So we had worked with Parks and Rec, we worked with an architect, we worked with a ramp prefab group, and we raised the funding to put a ramp in, and then about 4 weeks out of getting this project done, having the funds raised, it turns out we saw the existing conditions, which was that photo about 5 back that had a ton of water in front of it. And it turns out we couldn't, where the ramp had to terminate as per Parks and Rec, and it had to, they could only let it terminate in one place. They would only let us put a ramp in one spot. And they said, just go ahead and put it in. But Habitat, we were saying, if you're disabled or elderly, you really can't walk through a 50-foot puddle every time you want to go into the rec center. So with that, we had to sort of pivot very quickly. That's the existing conditions. We pivoted really quickly to focus more on the intergenerational space, but at that point, our train was already running with funding. We were about 4 weeks out from having to deliver for the funder that gave us the money. And we had engaged the whole community. We had about 100 people ready to come out and do the work. And that's when we engaged Vivian in putting a design into action that was all the dreams and things that the neighbors wanted to see in this space.
So pretty much, they called me a few weeks out. It was like a blazing fire. They called Habitat. I guess I was called in about a few weeks out. And was like, we need this design with 100 volunteers coming in like 3 weeks. So I'm like, ah! So basically what you run into is like you are dealing with, trying to navigate your way in the face of like missing puzzle pieces. Some of those are the maintenance end, what's going to happen, materials and research selection, and also like client engagement and interaction that you are used to. So the design has to be tailored. This is another challenge with this timeline, has to be tailored to the needs of the situation. So you're dealing with volunteers, you don't know their skill levels, you don't know what they can do, if they have a good work ethic. And so you have to, so this is the design that we sort of came up with on the fly. And so these are just some sketches. We wanted to create places for people to sit and have movies and movie night and yoga, stuff like that. And like we just created places for people to sit, like the footrests, but also have garden space. Just a variety of different nooks and niches and things like that. I think that it relates to tactical urbanism because it's like a carnival. So is carnival worth it if it's a traveling carnival? And I think what you have to realize is, or what you have to deal with in your own mind when you want something permanent, is like what's permanent versus temporary, what's the value? And here's an example of the temporary things. Hopefully they'll last. But you're also designing something and trying to build something really quickly that will last. And there's always like that tension between, feeling irresponsible, like you're wasting if you didn't plan like 6 months ahead of time or a year ahead of time, like many design projects take. So as we went along, in this type of situation, plan. But when you get to the day, be like Plastic Man. And I don't think anybody knows Plastic Man because I'm pretty old. But I watched Plastic Man in the 70s. I think, he was pretty bizarre and stretchy. I think that's why I liked him. But you have to be flexible because there are a lot of ideas going around, a lot of people with great information, and things are changing. Some materials might not show up, and you have to figure out, okay, what do we do? So there's also a lot of NTS and VIF. If you're not in the architectural profession, you might not know that those are called not to scale and verify in field. So you don't want to get too locked in and get in trouble out there. Those are tools we as architects use to not get in trouble later. So these drawings were to scale, but I still was like, not to scale and verify in field, because unknowns come up. So, like I said, use the drawings, but we had, basically, I don't know if we said, the event day was like 100 volunteers coming out to build this whole garden. And it's like, how are we going to get this done? And so what it feels like is a panic situation. This is literally what it looked like. But what you end up not taking away is this feeling of like exchange and ideas and flowing motion. It feels like a jubilant dance circle. So it might have written on, and I think it becomes like this big book of memory. And so I guess the last thing, that's Carrie out there. Good to plan in follow-up time. We had a follow-up day the next day. And this was really my song, Let the Sun Shine In. At the end of that weird Aquarius song, there's a whole other song called Let the Sun Shine In. Let the sun shine. So anyway, the value is just in, let me see, so I don't forget. The value is just, in creating something that people have memories to do. So any space, it's also important to give vision to people who don't have that. So if you activate a dead space, they're able to see something, they're able to see what could be, even if it's not going to last for 50 years, even if it's going to last, and that's the value in pop-up parks. So you're providing access to vision. So I am at 0 seconds, and thank you very much.
Y'all are a great team. Like salt and pepper or something, man. Get back up there. All right, Carrie, you forgot 2 things?
No, I was gonna.
You can dance if you want to, break dance, whatever you want. It's all good. You just killed it up there with Plastic Man and all types of cool photos. You have a microphone, Carrie.
One of the things there was a question before about working with Parks and Rec, and I do have, working with big organizations in the city, a couple things that I've learned is that even within one organization and agency, they have no idea the amount of approvals and things within the single agency that you need. That was a huge learning experience because we had the historical and the architects from Parks and Rec, but not like some other approval or some other piece that was required. And even today, still on the phone, trying to get a ramp in. By the end of our funding period, which ends December for this pot of money that we raised, they actually, within the agency, are saying you should probably not even try because I don't even know. This was a Parks and Rec person saying, I'm not even sure how to get the right people at the table. So this not to be discouraging, but just sometimes agencies and cities don't understand who their people are. So I would just suggest figuring out who's not at the table and always ask who else needs to be here, both from the community side and agencies that you might be working with.
I love the fact that you forgot something, because I know what that feels like. And you get home and you're like, they're never going to know. They're never going to know. So, does anybody have any questions about how to do a dope project like this? And Claire does. So I'm going to go over to Claire. Does anybody else have any questions while I'm back here?
Maybe I missed it, sorry if I did, but cost, time frame, and did you guys have a plan for long-term maintenance of the garden before you started?
That was another thing, because that train was running. My motto is always get it done, we'll figure it out. And so we just continued, even though there was a space for a spigot. So we're still working with Parks and Rec to get the spigot installed because again, what seems simple to an outside eye on a big bureaucracy in an agency like Parks and Rec takes so many approvals. So we had the idea of a maintenance plan. I did not work out the details before that. So this summer we employed an army of people with buckets and tried to incentivize. I begged the fire department to water. We continued, but we did not have a really sound maintenance plan. Did you ask about budget? It cost about $14,000 to do that. We have, in this case, we're in a lucky situation. With Habitat, we raised a bigger pot of money for some of this work at the rec center than was utilized for this. That's why I'm still trying to get the ramp on. Which time frame, though, was very bound by the funder over just an 8-month period.
Well, as the person that was ordering the plants and everything, I was extremely concerned about, and that was one of the things I was saying. It's like, there's not a solid maintenance plan, and I know that that's going to be a challenge, but do I go forward with this opportunity? And it, that's where, to me, it becomes tactical urbanism, as opposed to like they're sending out submissions and they're everything and approvals and and you know that there's a maintenance plan, and that stressed me out. But it's like we're gonna get this done, and we're gonna put these pieces in place, and we're gonna, and I kept bringing it up, and that was kind of one of the lessons, making sure that they hear you. And I think they said they did hear me, but it just wasn't gonna be handled. So that's the tactical urbanism piece. Helping these plants live. Well, when I looked, most of them were doing well. They were really pretty, but I don't know. She was out there after me, so I think we had that late hot spell, so I'm not sure.
And the other thing is making
It was
sure
a few
that
weeks ago that I saw them and things looked good, but
any agency doesn't treat something so precious that they don't. We're going to battle now to make sure it stays open to the neighborhood, even if it's used and abused, versus keeping it only for formal programming. Because all the people, like a lot of people in the neighborhood literally built it and planned it, so we're great on the engagement of planning and designing, but where I see having to now put like time and effort is actually the operations of the space and making sure that stays just as democratic in the neighborhood and for everybody to get access to it.
and we do have a work day next week, so I mean, and that's the other thing, reminding people that some annuals, they're not going to last. They're summer things, and this is fall, so we're planning to replan. So that's the good thing.
All right, folks, give it up for Solomon Properties. So last week, I was fortunate enough to go to Detroit. What up, though? And next up to the stage in her amazing hat is Melinda Mimi Anderson, who's going to talk about all things Detroit that she's proud of. So DJ, you have to do that music. She's going to lose her self-representation, ladies and gentlemen.
About the Design Festival, and so many people were in the Design Festival a couple weeks ago, and so I'm excited to learn about Design Philly. Our Design Festival has been about 7 years, and I just wanted to showcase a lot of the projects that have been done by designers and artists over the years, so you just kind of get an idea of the flavor. So this is like one of the main streets of Detroit. And Detroit is called the Paris of the Midwest. And so Woodward was the highlight of the city, and a lot of bustling folks and activities and storefronts. And so back in the 80s, there was the flagship store, Hudson's, that left and went to the suburbs, and you had a lot of other stores that left to the suburbs. So you had a lot of empty storefronts. And so through the Design Festival, we have micro grants, and we gave artists up to $500 in a competition to really kind of bring some life to storefronts. So we thought, let's have a post-it competition called Stick 'em Up. And we work with artists and designers to kind of create installations in the windows and just to kind of enliven the city. And so we're happy to say now that in 7 years, we have a new rail system down the storefronts. It brought a lot of attention to the city and life to the area. And so there's a Warby Parker, Lululemon, not just because of our efforts, but because a lot of people started seeing the value in these empty storefronts. really easy, low cost to do, less than $1,000. The next project through the design festival is called Hopscotch Detroit. And these guys were a group of designers that wanted to kind of get more exposure for their business. And they came up with wanting to set the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest hopscotch in the world. So, very fun, easy, playful idea, no permission. Not sure how we didn't get caught, but they just did it. They had volunteer work days, they had hopscotch offs, they had artists, local artists and musicians to kind of really enliven the city. And what was great about it is that it really turned into a community engagement tool because hopscotch, everybody understood it, it was fun, it was easy. And then this was one of my favorite pictures because it felt like Detroit had a lot of all types of individuals that were involved in this project. The next one is our version of a Highline called the Dequinder Cut. And there we have designers that worked for 1 year with putting up swings, and local architects created these installations. Then we had a group from London come in and did something called the Laser Maze. And so it was just really to kind of reimagine this space and to hopefully bring about more installations in the future. And so it worked. We work with a lot of other architects that work with developers to kind of highlight their lots and to do installations for empty lots. We have other artists that come through the city, through the design festival, and this is called the Space Buster. It is a bubble that promotes collaboration and conversation so you can inhabit it. Then we have neighborhoods that we work with. This is the Avenue of Fashion, and we work with them once a year to do an event called Light Up Livernois. Again, not necessarily a lot of permits with this, but it's really great for the neighborhood. Pop-up fashion shows, art, all kinds of stuff. Then this is the last project. This was actually started for $1,000. It's called Eastern Market After Dark. It's in one of the oldest farmers markets in the nation. And what it is essentially an open house for the district that happens at night. And you have 40 or 50 different artists and designers that come together and they bring their artwork and creativity. We also work with the AIA in Detroit. They do a really big event with their gala. This was started for $1,000. And now we work with the farmers, we work with artists, designers, all just to kind of make this area come alive. We had about 30,000 people that come through. We also have like international artists that come through with installations. But all this is done now these days for about $12,000 to produce this event. So then we just always never underestimate the value of a good DJ to kind of really enlighten the area and bring a lot of love to the city. So then we work with certain groups to sponsor artists to do these really cool challenges. This is Art Band, they're one of our sponsors, and we give stipends to artists to paint couches live during the event. And then these are our safety shaman. And so they kind of, 1 year were just out hanging out in the city and kind of keeping people safe, but really they were doing a lot of twerking. So, they weren't giving a lot of directions, but they were fun. They were really fun. So, and then that's it.
How in the hell did you make community development so much fun?
That's what we do in the city. That's what we do in the D.
So I went to Detroit, and Detroit reminded me of Philadelphia in like 1993. Community development, which is a good thing and scary as hell because reinforcements are coming.
Right, yeah.
So how do you balance doing something new with maintaining the integrity of your amazing city?
Well, I think that it's a real challenge because there's so much going on right now that we really just have to stay true to ourselves. I work with a small team and we constantly check in and making sure that we're keeping our festival authentic. So it's a lot of hard conversations, but really kind of keeping the main thing at the end of the day is just to all work together. So.
Does anybody in the crowd have any questions? Those loud people are all my family. I'm so proud of actually really quiet at home. I don't say anything. But does anybody have a question? Alex Balloon from Tacony has a question. Or Kevin from Fairmount CDC has a question. They're ringers. So lay it on us. It better be good too, by the way, because you work in this crap.
Oh man.
So let's go.
It's not that good.
Trust me, if it's a Thursday, it is crap. By Monday, it'll be beauty.
How long is the longest hopscotch board in the world?
That's a great question, Kevin. I'll buy you a shot later.
It's 3.5 miles. Yeah, and I think they still hold the record, and that was fun.
Anybody else have a question? I see people are dying. I see you. You can go. You stole my seat, though. My hit list.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I'm not sorry at all. How did you do Eastern Market after hours for only $1,000? What did that mean?
Sure. So it was really like Stone Soup. There was a woman named Nina Marcus Polanco that worked at a gallery, and we gave her a mini grant. She said, there's so many cool artists, designers, galleries in this farmers district that no one knows about. And so pretty much she used the money to create matchbooks that said, I blank after dark. And she used that to make posters.
Wait a minute. She put on matchbook that she blanks after dark?
Yeah, I blank. You had to fill in the blank.
Detroit is fascinating.
So she put that on there, and she spread the word, and it was like wildfire. But every, gallery and like letterpress studio, everybody wanted to do something. And so they were happy to open the doors, and they funded their activation or their DJ or whatever. And they still do. We don't do micro grants, unfortunately, anymore, but she just really asked everyone to contribute their talents, and people did fashion shows, people did pop-ups, people did installations. It's like something we've never seen before, where people were just so excited to come to this district, because 40,000 people come to the market every Saturday. So it's a space that people love. They love this space.
All right, people love you clearly too, because you got other hands going up.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's the city above me.
I was so nervous.
All right, we have one last question before we move on. Let me hear it. Make it a good one, because I will boo.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my nephew, and
We'll boo it, man. Don't worry about it. Lovers, we're love. Let's go cool.
yes, my question is, the artists that you have airbrushing the furniture, is there any way you can come to Philadelphia and do that here so we can purchase it?
Absolutely, yeah.
First development. See my eyes good this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to bring a group of the talent that we have here. I know that Claire, that's her love too, and Michelle. So I think definitely we're going to do that. We're going to do that.
Give it up for me, please, everybody. Last but not least, we have a gentleman that was able to go from working for the mayor's office to working for a CDC. Why somebody would do that is beyond me. He's in the back of the room, ladies and gentlemen, for that long walk to the ring. Welcome Andrew to the stage, please. Welcome. You saved the best for last, ladies and gentlemen. That does not mean that open bars closed, you can't get any more drinks. Stop being a cheap ass, please, and tip your bartender. But most importantly, Andrew, you gotta bring it home. This is the anchor leg. You look just like them. I need you to do your best Usain Bolt impersonation, all right? Bring it home, clear the tape, make us look amazing.
Well, I feel like I understand you so much better now that I've got to spend some time with your family in the back of the room.
That can
No, you should be very proud.
They're yelling, yeah, baby, and amen. You are fine.
So So a lot of what has been talked about tonight are things that have been done recently, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're thinking about for the future of our work making spaces at University City District. But first, let me talk to you just very quickly about University City District. We are a special services district. We cover 2.5 square miles of West Philadelphia, from the Schuylkill River out to 50th Street, from Spring Garden down to Woodland Avenue. There are about 55,000 people who live in our district, another 75,000 people who come to work in our district. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. Our foundational work is our clean and safe work, community cleaning and safety programs. Over the years, we've expanded to do events for the community and to help support small. We have a workforce training program called the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative. And we have our own landscaping and social enterprise. We also have a whole bunch of public spaces in University City that University City District has planned and designed and developed and operates today. Many of you in this room have probably had the opportunity to hear from my predecessor, Freeman Gupta, or my colleague, Nate Hummel, about a lot of the work that we've done. And for those of you who haven't, we've done things like transform a dumpster alley outside of 30th Street Station into a beautiful public space. With a lot of help from a lot of different people to make that happen. We also, in some of the more residential neighborhoods of the district, have transformed underutilized traffic triangles into beautiful public spaces. It's Woodland Green. We have another one at Cedar Park. We also have other spaces, some of which you may or may not know about. Some modest spaces like our tree seats around the district, some seasonal spaces like our parklets, bike racks, things like that. And then we also have what I think is the best community composting program in America, called the Dirt Factory, which is an incredible program utilized by hundreds of residents of West Philadelphia, where they come and drop off their compostable materials and come and pick up fertilizer every spring, all on a transformed vacant lot. Very cool stuff. And like many folks and many organizations that have resources and have a commitment to placemaking, we collect lots of data about our spaces. And every now and then we get a grant that allows us to hire people to present it beautifully. Like this, all this incredible data that we have about our porch. We know a lot of things about our public spaces. But as we've been thinking about really what's going to be the next generation of our work, and as we've been thinking about all of these hundreds of millions of dollars that are being spent on public spaces all over Philadelphia, we found ourselves asking the question, what don't we know about our public spaces? What we don't know is who's not in this space. We can make guesses about it, but we don't really know who's not in this space and why aren't they there. And this has led us over the last year to be thinking about how do we want to answer these questions in a methodical way and help evolve our spaces. And so you talk to lots of folks in the public space world, and lots of people are talking about equity, and lots of people are talking about making spaces more welcoming for people, but it often feels like we don't even really know what we're talking about. So can we really dive deep on these two questions? And we're going to try it, and we'll see how it works out. We're just going to start this work really in earnest in the next couple of weeks. And so we did a lot of reading and talking to different people, and there's some, we came across the work of a fantastic professor out of the Graduate Center at CUNY in New York, named Edlow, who talks about major domains of justice and social justice in public space. And the first is distributive justice. So who has physical proximity to your assets? And this is work that's really important for University City District because we don't just have one space, we have a network of spaces. And then also the procedural justice of your space. So who's listened to and how are they listened to in not just the planning and design, but also in the operations of your public space. So we're often somewhere between pretty good and decent at engaging the public and the community in planning and design processes. And then often we just walk away and say, okay, the space is running. Or sometimes we have governance structures like rec committees or parks friends groups, and those can really run the gamut of how good they are at listening to and engaging folks in their operations of a public space. And the last is interactional justice. And this is really the thorniest one. It's what makes you feel welcome or unwanted in a public space. And that means lots of different things. It means, how is that space programmed, right? Do you have a program like City Fit Girls operating in your public space? Is your public space like the streets being opened for open streets on October 28th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. along 5th Street and coming right by here? So how's your space programmed? How is your space, how is safety maintained in your space? And what are the interactions that different people are having with that in your space? This summer we've had a very vibrant discussion in Philadelphia and around the country about the symbolism and significance of statues and other public art in space, and how does that make people feel welcome or unwanted? So why does this all matter to us? Well, we think that we have a moral imperative to do this work, because the reality is you can't be neutral when you're developing a new space. And if you don't put these kinds of questions at the center of your space and at the center of your work, what you're likely to do at best is just entrench existing inequalities, and you very well may find yourself inflaming those inequalities. And so you also have, you have this moral imperative, and it's going to force you to do some things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable, as the Holy Father clearly feeling a little uncomfortable. But you know what? He had the meeting because it was important. There's also an important organizational opportunity here. So we're really lucky to be an organization with strong capacity to be able to do this kind of work, and then to be able to share it with lots of folks all around Philadelphia and hopefully far beyond that. And then finally, for those of us who made careers of planning, who made careers of design or working in public space, there's really or infrastructure, there's really a professional obligation here. Because the reality is that the history of our profession has mostly been to overlook or run through communities that are disadvantaged. And we have an obligation to change our professional history. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create an audit tool for public space owners and managers. Then we're going to apply it to ourselves at University City District. And we're going to develop interventions to make our own spaces more just. We're going to share the perspectives on justice in public space by listening to different voices. We're going to create clearer ways of thinking about what justice means in public space. And then we're going to do something really, like that you'd say if you were a consultant or something. We're going to foster a community of practice, or you're going to write in a grant application. But open bars are also good for fostering communities. So we're off to a strong start already. So thanks to the support of the Knight Foundation, we're doing this work. And we've put together an amazing advisory group. A number of those members are here tonight. That advisory group includes some academics. And it includes people who work and live in West Philadelphia. It includes people who are responsible for planning, designing, managing public spaces. It includes educators, so the principal of the Penn Alexander School and the principal of the HMS School for Children with Cerebral Palsy. It includes a former police deputy commissioner. It includes a technologist, and a journalist, and an artist, and an entrepreneur. All of whom, yeah, right, you're right there. So, and Takia, who's in the back, is out there too. What's really exciting to me about this group is that almost none of these people spend their every day thinking about public space. But they all experience public space as people, as individuals living and working in this city, and they're going to really help us think about and inform this work and try to change the discussion from just the usual suspects. And so hopefully I'll be back here in a year to tell you how we did.
Andrew, you had a lot of brown people on your board, bro. had a lot of brown people. What do you work for that? That's hard, man. Other than like people that own like a record label, I have never seen that many brown people in one collection ever. All right, so the rule is I get to ask at least 2 questions, and y'all get to ask some questions. And my question to you is, how in the hell do you stay committed to diversity and inclusion clearly in an environment that is dominated by not 1, but 2 really powerful universities? Go.
You just have to do it. You have to make it your priority, and it's not gonna, and you have to constantly question what you're doing. And we're very lucky to work in Philadelphia where there are lots of people of all backgrounds who are super competent professionals, have incredible life experiences, and you just have to get everyone to the table, and you have to ask other people. And the way that pragmatically it works is you start asking other people, well, who should I have here?
You sound so rational, it's scary. Okay, I like to share, so you can ask the question, Carrie. I've got your back. You had an amazing song.
Have you guys, have you figured out the indicators that you're going to measure to figure out those metrics? Because they're really good metrics.
Thank you. No, we have not figured out the indicators. And actually, we were really excited because the sort of the academic who's been doing all this work is very excited to be sort of transforming this into very practical work because no one really has figured out the indicators. That's going to be the really hard part.
Do we have any more questions from the crowd? Yes, sir, with the red glasses on.
Oh, I have a question. I'm a union construction worker, and I'm a supervisor, and not just for you, Andrew, but for Vivian and Carrie and Lauren and Melinda. How can we volunteer? Because I know some of the projects that were up there we worked on. So how can we volunteer to help you guys do some of the work that you do? Because like I said, I am a laborer, so we do labor. So how can we volunteer, or how can I connect with you guys and send it back to my business agent so we can get some volunteers to help you guys?
Yeah, baby!
Before y'all share too much, because I'm part of my damn family, okay? So I want the credit. I brought him here today. Don't share too damn loud. Make sure you give me some of that credit, even though he's wearing red glasses that his lady on. We'll talk about that later. You make me look bad on the streets, man. Love you, though. All right, Andrew, tell them how to volunteer. It's time. Go.
Well, you'll take my card after this, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any other questions before we let? Oh, Jesus Christ, we got 2 more. How you doing, sir? You look really serious. You have good credit, I'm sure. Yeah.
So you were talking about bringing people to the table, and I live in a community where the people who I've outreached to try to bring into the development and to try to get to make changes and be a part of the change, they come back to me and they say, I'm not part of it. Like I don't feel included as I'm trying to outreach and bring them to the table. So what are some of the things you've done to get the people to the table to diversify these groups so that you can hear all the different sides? It's something that I'm seeing with like my neighborhood association. It's very, very difficult to get a diversified conversation. So what are some of the things you've done?
By the way, Mike, this is Rarefied Air. They're asking the white dude how to get diversity. You guys know how to do it. How do you feel? How does it feel? How does it feel? To be able to say, I know how to do all of this, and I'm white. Go.
That's very deep. Hey, here's like the thing is, don't bring people to your table. Go to their table, right? And then 2, pay people to give their opinions to you, right? So you go to public meetings, and right, you have people who look like me, and frankly look like lots of pretty much everybody in this room, who are paid to be there as consultants, standing up in front of some community meeting where no one else in that room is getting paid, asking people, and they're the people with the valuable information in the room, asking them for their resources, right? Their information. right? Well, if you turn that table and instead say, and then people in the front, sorry, I just gotta talk about this. So then you're standing in front of the room, you're like, and these people, they don't want to tell me the things that I want to know. They want to complain about the pothole, and they want to complain about how they can't get this ramp built with Parks and Rec, and well, yeah, because they're there to try to get, you know, their concern heard, because they're not there just to give you information, right? Well, if you pay people and say, no, I really value your time, what you have to say, here's $50 for spending 2 hours and answering my questions about this thing that is important to something that's going on. Those people get focused so quickly on what you're interested in learning about, and you can really get great information because you're valuing the resource that they have.
Whose woke bae are you, man? Jesus Christ. That gave me goosebumps. Any other questions? Yes, lady with the headband.
Thank you. So my question is, while you are rightly so focused on University City District, since you are employed by them, I live about 5 blocks outside of it. I'm right across the street of Chester, 52nd and Chester. I'd be considered on the southwest just by a block, just by crossing a block. I'm considered outside of University City, like by 5 blocks. I'm considered Cobb's Creek. But I would still have to travel for any source of local buying or like shopping, just any sort of patronage, like restaurants. I have to walk to Baltimore Avenue, and my question is there any cross-pollination, like of any sort, like to try and help the community that is literally bordered with University City and much more neglected, with all of those resources? Because I would love to be able to spread those if there is.
Sure, so let me talk about 2 ways that we're doing that at University City District. So the first and most significant is through the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative, so we looked at University City. We have these 75,000 jobs. We have 80,000 people living in poverty in the 5 zip codes around University City. And so we said, how can we work to connect people living in poverty to living wage, fully benefited positions in University City? And so through the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative, we have put 500 people over the last 5 years? More than 700 have gone through the program, created $15 million in wages for those people who come from the 5 zip codes around University City, working at places like Penn and CHOP and the Science Center, working for University City District at Green City Works, our landscaping social enterprise. So that's one way that we're working beyond the borders. Then there are smaller, but I would still say significant ways. So we've brought the Baltimore Avenue Dollar Stroll, which is really an economic development activity for us, which says, let's get lots of people out on Baltimore Avenue, see what all the small businesses have to offer on it. That has, for the last 2 seasons, now gone all the way out to 52nd Street. So those are a couple of ways. We have to be we have to be careful, right, about how we move beyond our borders for lots of different reasons, and making sure that we're welcome when we do that.
We have one more question in the back before we wrap this shindig up. Michael O'Brien, Mr. Trauma of Philadelphia. Are you back there?
Thank you. So I had a question about, I'm going to try to speak loud. I had a question about when you bring community members in to do anything, whether it's for a day or for the length of your project, I'm curious as to what your education process is for them. There tends to be a lot of terminology and processes and things that tend to go over their head, and sometimes the pothole conversation is actually where they find relevance in a place of power in terms of engagement. So I'm curious as to what kind of education process happens so that they're not placated. And no, that's not disrespect. I'm just curious.
No, you're absolutely. So how you design any kind of engagement process is really important, right? Because all of us, we walk into any kind of room where we're not familiar with the topic and someone's standing in front of you throwing all sorts of jargon at you, and it gets really confusing really quickly, and often turns very unproductive very quickly. So being really deliberate and thoughtful about how you're engaging your participants is really important, and it kind of depends a lot on what you're talking about. So we actually thought a lot about it with this project, where we have the folks who we're bringing around the table come from very different backgrounds, and most of them, as I said before, don't think about this kind of stuff on an everyday basis. So we're starting out with, actually, this is probably a good example. Our first topic of conversation with this group is going to be, what was your favorite public space growing up and why? And so creating that as a point of entry as we explore these questions.
We have one more question. She looks so sad, so I gotta take it. I mean, I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to ask you that question.
Well, I want to know is, like, you talk a lot about framing a question. How do you practice empathy in doing this research, and then what is your metric in defining the resiliency in that answer?
That's a dope question. I just need like 4 bottles of tequila for me and him to like sort through all of that in a lot of lines. But Andrew, it's better you than me, buddy.
Yeah.
Enjoy that.
So I'll try to answer that. So I think the way that we're trying to do that with this project is the staff from University City District are not going to be participating in any of the conversations. We're going to be observing. We brought in an incredibly talented facilitator from outside of Philly, who almost nobody participating in the project knows, because we didn't want it to be a local person who people have existing relationships with, and we're going to sit and listen to the conversations. I think that's how we're going to try to really practice the empathy piece. And then I think on there was a metric question you had?
Yeah, it is, once you invoke empathy, right, you were talking about how you don't have metrics yet, defined yet, so how do you build the resiliency in your solutions, right? So, like, as you engage them and you get your ideas and you build the criteria, how do you build the resiliency factor in what you're trying to sustain?
So actually, this is maybe a good real-time example of not finding a good point of entry. So when you say resilience, I get very caught up in like environmental resilience, so I'm not sure that I know what you mean by resilience factor.
Environmental as well. So when you're entering a community and you're defining a public space, your public space can be
I see what you're saying.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how do you build the resiliency where they will actually appreciate it as well as sustain that space? Right. And how do you do it in an economical as well as an environmental way?
Mm-hmm. That is a great question, to which I don't have a great answer right now. But I think what I would say, this is, I think just what come to mind are a couple of examples. So when we put the porch at 30th Street Station, there was one group that was very concerned about its presence, and particularly the presence of food trucks at the porch. And that was everybody who has a food restaurant or service inside of 30th Street Station. And they were really concerned that it was going to take business away from them. And so some of the things that we did were, one, have them invite them out to advertise on the porch and promote what was inside and promote their businesses. And then we also, through data collection, we're documenting, because it was pretty easy to do based on what people were eating, how many people were actually bringing their food outside. And we're able to show to the businesses inside, look, actually, this space is helping your business. That's one not very good example of what you're talking about, but it's a really important question. I think is part of this whole set of questions, because I think it gets to when people are left out, when spaces aren't resilient, that gets to why aren't people there?
Give it up for Andrew, ladies and gentlemen. He is clearly the Rick Rubin of community development. He's figured it out. He's woke. He's kicking ass, taking names. So I'm going to bring the amazing Michelle Freeman back up here. So for the last couple hours, we got to get drunk together. We got to learn more about pools and about development and about pop-ups and about CDCs. So I don't really have much more to say other than I wish you all health, wealth, and time to figure out, it's not Earth, Wind, and Fire. Jesus Christ. That was my moment with the spotlight and everything. This is why I'm a solo act, ladies and gentlemen. This is why Bobby Brown left New Edition. Because of shit like that. So, make sure you do the most important thing, and that's stay involved, stay committed, and stay engaged with your community. If you look around this room, everybody's not the same shade. They don't want the same thing, and they don't think they can get it the same exact way, but they're still trying to get at it. So I commend you all for showing up, for paying $15, for tipping your bartender big, and for showing love to your community. So, on behalf of Witty and the Urban Consulate, and Patrick Morgan and the Knight Foundation and Fifth Square,
And Akeem Dixon!
have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Drive safe.